You have to say the first thing that comes on your mind as soon as I ask a question. Ready?
Why am I scared?
Transportation is one of the contributors of what we see today.
I look at India, so many EV buses. I think Delhi is adopted probably, I don't know the number, but I see a lot of EV buses, maybe 30-40% already EV. So I think that's encouraging.
If we have some car buyers in our audience today, what do you think they should think about when they're considering their car buying choices?
I think Nexon is a very good option. I think apna ghar to theek hai, we can make it sustainable, but if an entire city was on renewable, I think that'll be a great pleasure.
What's your guilty pleasure when it comes to sustainable practices? Anything you do that others might find surprising?
Using reusable straws. EV is a place where I'd want to start making the difference. Let's send across that idea to Elon Musk. There are a lot of new PLI schemes coming in as well. I think government is doing their bit. They are talking about it. They understand the problem. It's very impressive. They're proactively building up policies. But I think there'd be other pushes required on the government end. Maybe something in the sector of financing, giving tax benefits on registration of a EV vehicle. We really need to solve the problem of resales of EVs by a typical Suzuki car. That is still not clear in EVs per se.
Hi everyone, welcome to Build with Shreya. Today's podcast is very timely with all of us dealing with climate change at this point, and our guest is super passionate about sustainable energy solutions. So let's dive right in. So we are glad to have with us Mr. Yogiraj Gogia, who has been through various career shifts from finance to entrepreneurship to being recently the senior director of partnerships at Battery Smart. And now he has something very interesting brewing that he's doing on his own. So he has been at the forefront of the EV industry and specifically been an advocate of sustainable energy space. And we are so curious to know your insights about having a greener future for all of us as individuals and as citizens of this country.
So yes, I'd share all of my insights, whatever I have, and let's have fun.
Awesome. So tell us about your journey. I mean, you were in finance and then Park Plus, and then what motivated you to get into sustainable energy as an industry and EVs altogether?
I think that indeed is a two-part question, so I'll try and cover up. Background is I am from Delhi, love the city, born, brought up here. Did all of my education, schooling here, then moved overseas, spent a few years in Australia, then spent a year in US. That's where the real passion for sustainability sort of popped up. To be very honest, that's where I learned about sustainability. In India, back in the day, we were not talking so much about green and going sustainable and having the best practices. My time in California, when I was studying at USC, I think that's where I realized that for at least those markets were far ahead of us in terms of doing some real action on sustainability. I remember that Toyota at that point of time had launched the Prius car. And, there were a lot of people who were really passionate about saving the environment and they'd be doing that. Forget about buying that car, but something as small as, turning the taps off, turning the light off when you walk out. I know we discuss all of this and we say all of this in our daily conversations, but I think that's something that I really picked up there. Did not directly work in sustainability for the next few years. I was doing something in hospitality. I was doing something in finance. I was doing a lot of stuff in debt, but got a chance at Park Plus and now Battery Smart. I think I find my calling, and this is EV is a place where I'd want to start making the difference. And I think I am equipped in the right manner because of my experience at these companies.
Yeah. I mean, just this morning, I woke up to a very hazy sky in front of me. And I felt, okay, today I'm supposed to go to this podcast. We are talking about environment and sustainable energy. So just in time, just before the Diwali season and, all of that. But transportation is one of the contributors of what we see today, like what is happening to the environment. There's so many other things. Now, within transportation, what is the perception of EV being the ultimate solution to bringing that reduction in greenhouse gases or that kind of impact that we're trying to see when it comes to reducing the negative impacts of transportation industry in the environment?
I'd like to start off by saying that we'd have to do more than just mobility. Of course, we'd have to solve for mobility. It's one of the major contributors. Having said that, we'd have to do a little more than just mobility. And because Delhi is my city, and I've seen it go from fantastic air quality to what we see today, right? That's something that motivates me to sort of fix the problem myself. But yes, indeed, EV is something which is going to be making a lot of difference in the next couple of decades, if not more. I think we have seen that there is some action happening within this space. I still feel that we are either in our 0 to 1 or maybe 1 to 10 journey. However, EVs indeed will be a major contributor in fixing this problem. Hence, I'm also trying to build something around this space. And we'd have to essentially cover all stratas of the society. It's not just about, we'll have to get people to understand that this is not about a certain segment or a section of the society which is causing the pollution. I think it's everybody, starting from people like you and I, to probably somebody who's going to taking buses every day versus somebody who's working in a gift sector. I think everybody is doing their bit. It's not just about directly using it, but also utilizing the services and logistics that everybody is doing it. So we'd have to do our bit. And indeed, it will play a major contributor.
Absolutely. And I mean, solutions that are coming today in any aspect, we're looking at the end result that they're able to achieve. Now, for example, for electric vehicles, we see that, okay, it is instrumental in reducing the greenhouse gases. But if you look at the entire supply chain of EVs, there are aspects related to waste management that need to be, that are concerning. And then there are aspects related to, the mining intensive mineral based batteries, right? So what is the perception on those specific chain that goes behind the EVs, and how do you think in future that can also sort of support the end result that we're trying to achieve overall in the world?
See, it's fantastic that we are in our 0 to 1 stage, and we are clearly talking about these problems which currently do not exist, but we are already estimating that these problems will play an impact, negative impact, if not uh, arrested in time in the next couple of years. Good part is there are a lot of government policies which are around this. People are talking about it. People have learned from what happened in the previous energy utilization use cases. It could be lead acid for batteries. It could be literally our fuels, petrols and diesel, fossil fuels and so on and so forth. So I think we are already taking steps and we are walking in the right direction. Have we done something concrete? The answer is we are still in very early days because there is not enough batteries available to be recycled and so on and so forth. And different aspects. But I think we are doing everything that we should be doing at this point of time to make sure that this doesn't swindle out of hand in the next, probably the coming decade.
Absolutely. So what are some of the, initiatives that you saw at Battery Smart, relating to EVs that were very interesting to you, and if you would like to share with our audience today?
See, Battery Smart is it's a very interesting journey, right? Battery Smart is India's largest battery swapping player. Essentially, battery swapping, I'll just take a minute to explain so I can explain better what initiatives we took. It replaces the cost of owning a battery, and somebody else actually has the capex and owns the battery, right? Essentially, a vehicle, example sake, hypothetically, if it was supposed to cost 1 lakh rupees, if I take away the cost of the battery, essentially the vehicle would cost 35, 40, 50% cheaper. So I, as Yogiraj Gogia, I don't have to pay 1 lakh rupees. Rather, I'd pay 50,000 rupees, and you as Battery Smart owns my battery, and I come to you every day and I pay up a certain amount and I swap the battery, right? That certain amount is also not very expensive. The per kilometer coverage would probably be a rupee a kilometer, not that expensive. So it makes definite viability. This is what battery swapping is. The initiatives that I personally had taken, there are multiple initiatives, but one that sort of stands out for me was we homologated our battery packs with two-wheeler OEMs and L3 category, the e-rickshaws and the e-loaders that you see and L5 loaders that you see. Lithium batteries, like batteries in our phone, like they last a day and a half when we purchase the phone. और धीरे धीरे करके थोड़ा 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 कम होता रहता है, and then it sort of decreases a bit. and then we have to replace the phone per se. While the phone body and everything is absolutely all right, but we don't usually exchange batteries or change batteries now. But that is the problem that we are trying to solve. So this essentially has a lot of positive impact on the environment, right?
Absolutely.
We are not using enough more extra batteries than we already require. A single asset is used for multiple people. We are, you know, getting a lot of efficiencies in utilization of the asset, which is lithium in this case, and the batteries. So it has a lot of positive impact. That's one of the initiatives, and I'm really proud of.
Especially in a country like India, I think the price point at which this is available, the battery swapping will also make viable sense. And you're sort of separating the battery from the body. And that concept I see replicating in so many other industries going forward. I mean, you just mentioned like phones. I mean, why can we not have something like that as well? Because I mean, totally. I mean, the entire phone is going to waste when we sort of buy another new phone. And if you're not reselling it, it's just sort of adding to waste.
Absolutely correct. The intent is we look at it from a point of view that India is emerging economy, right? We have people who are at the bottom of the pyramid. We need to really empower them, right? This is where innovative concepts like battery swapping would come into play. Vehicle leasing. There are a lot of companies which are actually leasing these vehicles, while somebody like a Battery Smart would be retrofitting their batteries inside the vehicle. That essentially ensures that the person at the bottom of the pyramid who wants to make a respectable earning for himself is all of a sudden empowered, and that's we are helping him make his life a little easier. I think innovation has really helped the masses in India, and I still feel that we are at the beginning of the curve.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but the intent is to replicate this and make it bigger.
So Yogi, just building upon that, to build a successful venture requires both things. First is building a sustainable business model. Second is, having an adoption of that. Although there's like a growing interest in India, but there are still certain challenges when it comes to the infrastructure that can support it, and the buyer adoption, right? So how do you see that panning out? What is the perception on that?
See, this is a tough question. See, infrastructure has started to build up. There is a lot of action there. I wouldn't say there is no action. There are a lot of charging stations. There are a lot of swap stations which have come in. A lot of work been done in the startup ecosystem, and the policies by the government, honestly, they are actually giving a lot of tailwinds for us, people like us, to solve this problem. Having said that, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I'll give you an example. If you ask your dad or my dad, they might still not be very comfortable adopting to an EV, because they'd ask the question कि भाई highway पर रुक जाएगा तो क्या होगा,
True.
right? Honestly, there are some charging stations on the highways as well, and a lot of swapping stations. I'll give you an example. Not many people know, but Battery Smart is spread across 40 plus cities, right? And we've got 1400 plus swapping stations already, right? So essentially that means a lot of tier 2, tier 3 cities would have battery swapping station and charging infrastructure. Having said that, I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but we are in the right direction. We're walking in the right direction.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you mentioned that, there are certain government policies also sort of, positively impacting the adoption. So if you could name a few policies that you're aware of that the government has been trying to push forward.
See, FAME specific, there are FAME incentives which are specifically designed, the section of it for EV in particular. This goes for all vehicle categories. It's not limited to a car only. It starts all the way from a two-wheeler to a L3 category, L5 category, and then goes as high as buses and trucks and so on and so forth. Apart from that, there are a lot of new PLI schemes coming in as well. I think government is doing their bit. They are talking about it. They understand the problem. It's very impressive what they are proactively building up policies. But I think more than subsidy, there'd be other pushes required on the government end. I'm not going to name out as to what the pushes could be. Maybe something in the sector of financing, EV financing. Maybe something in the sector of giving tax benefits on registration of a EV vehicle more than what you are currently doing. We really need to solve the problem of resales of EVs. People are also worried you and me buy a typical Suzuki car, we know for a fact if we sell it after 3-4 years, what is going to be the resale value. That is still not clear in EVs per se, right?
I think so. I mean, again, then that's where I was going to. The used car market is big in India. A lot of people buy cars thinking, okay, we'll sell it someday, right? So, how do you see resales of EVs sort of coming forward? And even like, I think banks do not have proper policies in terms of financing EVs. So, what are the different options for financing that could be there, even if not now in future? What do you see in the industry happening? What kind of other financing options are coming forward?
See, financing has two aspects. A financing body would look at the product that they are financing, and then they'll look at the profile. Profile for people like you and I, we have a decent credit history, we have digital presence, we probably have credit cards and so on and so forth. So we already have a history which is in place. Banks would give us financing for a EV vehicle because they are looking at the profile. But let's be honest, this is India market. This is my own terminology. I say this is India market. But for the Bharat market, for somebody who is new to credit right now, what happens to that particular guy? Somebody is 18, 19, 20 years of age.
Right.
He is moving from a small town. He is moving to a metro city. He wants to buy a vehicle. He wants to start running his logistics play, something on the delivery side, food tech, e-tech, quick commerce, hyperlocal deliveries, and many other things. It's hard for that guy to get financing. So you're absolutely right that the financing policies are still not clear. Honestly, there is a push from the government's end, but I think a little more work needs to be done there. NBFCs have surfaced who are predominantly lending within this space, बट एनबीएफसी का प्रॉब्लम ये होता है कि वो बैंक से ही पैसा रेज करते हैं तो शायद 12-14-15% पे तो दे आर रेजिंग देयर मनी सो इन टर्न दैट द मनी दैट दे आर lending out, it could be anything like 18, 19, 20, 22%, right? So that's a problem. It's not affordable to get financing for the Bharat market. For India, it's still all right. Coming to your question where you asked me about the resale value, that's a big problem. That is something where a lot of work needs to happen. Nothing, at least in my knowledge, has happened so far. All of the resale that is coming through is predominantly coming through the unstructured market.
Right.
I've seen that we see the regular L3 category rickshaws, right? They have been around for a decade. Ideally, there should have been a market, a formalized market, which should have been developed there. But unfortunately, that still does not exist. And it's all offline, it's all run by the dealers. I think there's a lot of scope for improvement there.
So do you think technology can sort of help consolidate that market? I mean, we saw what happened with the cab market, especially, when Uber was coming to India, or all of these big companies are done really well for themselves in the overseas market. When they came to India, India's cab industry was very unorganized.
Right.
And, they have been successfully been able to at least, bring it into a central way, aggregation, and all of that. So do you think technology can sort of help this industry as well?
Yes, absolutely. If I talk about the resale in particular, there's a lot of IoT data. If I know as to what is the make of the vehicle, how many kilometers has it covered, what was the driving style of the driver that was utilizing the vehicle, maybe the geography, was it a hilly terrain, was it plains, was it something else? I think all of that can really help us get the value, the real resale value, and not the residual value. I think that definitely technology has more play beyond what I've just explained. But just to answer your question, yes, a lot of aspects, probably 5 different aspects. I can think about something: technology in financing, technology in vehicle development, technology in resale, technology probably improving the utilization of the vehicle, and so on and so forth. I think there's a lot of play.
So I think just going back to, one of the concerns that are there around the mining heavy mineral-based batteries, how do you see hydrogen-based, electric vehicles, sort of coming through?
Even though I'm not a subject matter expert, but I understand that there is work happening there. But I think it's still far behind what it should be. I know for a fact that Toyota had introduced hydrogen stations in Europe and North America, and then they had shut it down. I don't know as to why they had shut it down. Toyota had some few decent product offerings as well as far as hydrogen is concerned. So I think there's more work required there. I think it's technology in progress. I'm not sure as to what the safety norms are there, or if we are at that point that is commercially viable to have a hydrogen car and use hydrogen on a daily basis. But I think maybe in the future, I don't see it happening for the next few decades.
Yeah, because I think essentially, according to whatever I've researched, the same engine can actually be used. It's just the battery sort of getting changed. So, I mean, if it does make the progress in terms of its technological advancements in the future, I think it could be a better way.
Probably a lot of ICE vehicles are currently also been retrofitted to EV vehicles. So I don't see a reason as to why a EV couldn't move to an hydrogen vehicle. Again, I'm not a subject matter technical expert, but I'm assuming it would be a possibility. But I think abhi wo fuel ka sustainability and adoption in masses, I think that's still unclear.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't know enough about that. I just know for a fact that the hydrogen stations in Europe and North America are being shut down. A lot of it have actually sort of disappeared.
Okay.
So yes, Toyota is still in favor of hydrogen, but let's see where it goes.
So tell me, if we have some car buyers in our audience today, what do you think they should think about when they're considering their car buying choices?
Specifically in EV, I think Nexon is a very good option.
Mhm.
I've seen service as well. For the masses, I think Tata has made some really good products. I've personally driven that car, so I see a lot of. For instance, I did not know that I was driving an EV once you're sitting inside.
Mhm.
The performance was absolutely fabulous.
EVs by default are also less noisy. I mean,
Oh yes,
So
yes,
it's
indeed.
pretty-
If you're standing outside, then you clearly know that this is an EV. My existing car is a strong hybrid. So essentially, what that means is it starts on petrol and then it moves to a EV power. So the mileage is higher, but there is noise. But in EVs, there is absolutely zero. It's as quiet as you can imagine. I think Maruti and Toyota have some really good products on the hybrid category, while somebody like a Tata, they have done some really good work as far as Indian produced EVs are concerned.
okay, guys, let's move to a fun section now, which is the rapid fire.
Why am I scared?
I think you should be.
I should be.
Because you have to say the first thing that comes in on your mind as soon as I ask a question.
I try my level best.
Ready?
Yes.
Great. So, what's your favorite electric vehicle model currently on the market?
Nexon.
Exxon. Okay, you already mentioned that.
I did. That's easy.
That's cheating.
Outside India, I think I tried Tesla. I think Seal 3 Model 3.
Okay.
That was very nice.
Okay. If you could invent one sustainable energy technology overnight, what would it be?
See, this technology already exists where solar cells are put on the roof of the car and that charges the battery inside.
Mhm.
But I think अभी वो उसका level बहुत bleak है. मतलब you could only do a few kilometers. I'd probably develop a technology where during the day, not overnight, you would get enough charge that you could run for the entire day. I think that'll be dream come true, especially for a market like India. That will take care of your infra question that you had.
Yeah, that would be beautiful.
Yeah.
Great.
Could send across that idea to Elon Musk.
We could.
I'm sure he already knows.
Yeah, if he follows me though. I mean.
Soon.
If you could switch jobs with anyone in the EV sector for a day, who would it be and why?
I would want to be in the finance ministry in India, somebody who's focusing on EV financing. I really want to understand as to what their plan is.
What's the most innovative project you've ever worked on in your career?
I won't say innovative, but this particular project that I'd be talking about, it added a lot of personal value. There was a time during COVID in 2021, Park Plus had a lot of real estate. I was the market head for India. So we tied up. I specifically went to the chief medical officer in Gurgaon, got him to agree to give us a few vaccinations, and we got people to drive into malls and we vaccinated those people there. I think that was amazing. The feeling of getting people something which cannot otherwise be bought with money, I think it's amazing. A lot of blessings there as well. feel good.
Good karma.
Yes.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
You know the math. What's one myth about electric vehicles you wish more people knew the truth about?
People think that vehicles are expensive. They're not really expensive. If you do the math of running those vehicles for 3 to 5 years, you realize that initially maybe thoda sa zyada paisa dena padega, but over time they'll be better.
What's a common misconception about sustainable energy that annoys you the most?
People think that it's only for the affluent, if I may say so.
Like a perception.
Yeah, it's a perception कि यार इन चीजों पे हम तो कहाँ ही जाएंगे sir.
Who's your favorite sustainable energy advocate or influencer to follow?
I've got my bias. Pulkit Khurana is the CEO at Battery Spark.
What's one sustainable energy trend you're excited to see grow in the next few years?
People indeed moving to EV vehicles.
If you could only choose one sustainable energy source to power the world, which would it be and why?
Definitely solar because of the abundance and easy availability. I'm thinking about how sunlight is actually available everywhere on the planet. So if we could develop a technology and we can harness the energy better, I think it'll be crazy.
If you were to create a slogan for the future of sustainable energy, what would it be?
I think this one's going to take time, but maybe something around don't be a part of the problem, be a part of the solution.
ये हिंदी में कहते हैं.
Hindi mein? Well, that's me off guard, but let's see. Let me think. Not a very creative person like that. Hara no, EV no? No, not really. Not right. Yeah, that's bad. I'll pass on that. You win. I anyways have the coffee. Don't need the coffee hamper.
What's the most exciting breakthrough in sustainable energy technology you've seen recently?
I think personally, I'd say that battery swapping happening across 100,000 plus vehicles in India. I think that's amazing. Nobody could think that we give a battery to somebody and how the exchange will happen. But this is really happening.
If you could collaborate with any company in the EV space, which one would it be?
I would want to be partners with BYD.
Okay.
They are doing some really good work on the battery technology side. The batteries are indeed good. They're improving. I'd want to understand as to what's happening there on the battery. So battery is essentially everything, right? We solve for battery life and the cost of the EV goes down further.
Absolutely.
Then we can run it for 10 plus years like any other fuel.
What's your guilty pleasure when it comes to sustainable practices? Anything you do that others might find surprising?
Using reusable straws. I'm not sure if that counts, but yeah.
Okay.
I still do that.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I thought you would say just switch off the lights.
Yes, I am. I've got OCD there.
Yeah.
A lot of times that my wife would still be in the room and I'd be turning off the light. She is
If you could attend any industry conference, which one would it be?
Actually, there are a few, but I think there's World Energy Congress that happens. I think it already happened in 2024. But I think I'd want to be there. I want to understand as to what the world is thinking about sustainable. Usually they discuss topics which are usually 2, 3, 5 years.
Okay.
The problems which are about to be, they see because they are ahead in the adoption curve. We are talking about recycling right now. They were talking 3 years ago. So I'd want to understand that. I think there's a lot of business opportunities that you learn at these conferences. A lot of people might say that these are boring. I personally feel if you are really attending it and you're present there, I think there are a lot of business opportunities and ideas that come out.
Yeah, I think it gives you some perspective on what's out there. What is the future, future problems, again, as you said, that are being solved, that people are trying to solve, how far they have gotten, what are the kind of new things that people are coming up with. It gives you a perspective of where you should be actually working.
Yes.
I remember one of my colleagues actually building some AI solution and then going to the US at one of these conferences and coming back and saying, hey, I'm shutting this out. Because, what I'm doing is not going to fly. There are already so many big players out there. And so he could clearly see that, okay, a year from now, he would stop being relevant. So, I mean, just getting perspective as to where you should be putting your efforts
100%
is super.
I totally agree. I think getting the right ideas and, meeting the right people, getting that perspective right, I think that indeed is the
And
idea.
of course, connections go without.
Oh, networking is crazy.
Absolutely.
Networking is something that I'd honestly go anywhere for. I like to be in all of these conferences. It could be social, it could be a party setup, but yes, I like talking to people. So
Okay.
anybody out there who wants to talk on this topic, reach out.
So, Yogiraj, for this section, I'm just going to ask you some would you rather with some choices, and then you can just pick your choice and explain why. And that's
I'm scared again. I don't know what my choices will be.
well, we all have to make a choice someday. So, would you rather travel the world by electric car or solar powered plane?
Definitely electric car. Plane, I cannot stop and explore. Electric car, I can. And I like to drive.
But the distance would matter for sure.
Oh, that's all right. I'd build up the infra before that.
Would you rather live in a self sustaining house or a smart city powered by renewable energy?
I think a smart city powered by renewable energy, because that gives me more kick. I think apna ghar to theek hai, we can make it sustainable, but if an entire city was on renewable, I think that'll be a great pleasure.
Would you rather lead a large team for a green energy startup or be a solo entrepreneur pioneering a new sustainable technology?
Honestly, I'd want to do both, but definitely I've got my inclination towards leading a large team. I like to collaborate, like interacting. So yeah,
So it'll be the green energy startup.
yes,
Would you rather invest in a sustainable energy fund or a traditional finance fund?
definitely a sustainable energy fund. A lot of financing already on the traditional finance funds. I think a lot of scope for improvement on and growth on the sustainable side, and my passion.
Absolutely. That's totally evident. Would you rather lead a team that develops new sustainable technologies or the one that implements existing sustainable solutions?
I'd want to, because there's already enough action on the development side. I'd want to be focusing on the execution part of it. So the latter.
Okay. Would you rather be a famous entrepreneur or a well-known environmental activist?
I think bits and pieces of both. I'd want to be successful at what I'm doing, but I definitely want to be doing something for the environment. Recent dad, so I want to make sure that I hand over a decent
World.
environment
Yeah.
and world to the generations ahead.
Absolutely. Would you rather live in a smart city with the latest technology or a peaceful countryside?
Honestly, I'd want to be in the peaceful countryside.
Okay.
I've got a soul of a 90-year-old person from a small village.
Okay. Would you rather work with cutting edge technology or on a community driven project?
Definitely a community-driven project. I think more value there. Everybody, you could develop technology, but if nobody is adopting to that technology, no use.
Would you rather be a part of a major breakthrough in sustainable energy or have a successful startup?
Have a successful startup in sustainable energy.
Okay. We see you picking both options for the past few questions.
You can't let me choose between being a successful entrepreneur or sustainability. I think I'm building something in sustainability and I want to be successful there.
Valid. Okay. We'll take that. Would you rather read a book on climate change or watch a documentary on the subject?
I'd prefer the documentary. I think documentary is a product of somebody reading a few books and it's much quicker, gets me more...
More visual.
No, visual is one aspect, but a lot of research goes into before creating a documentary. So it's like reading 20 books at one go.
Would you rather have the ability to read minds or predict the future?
Or definitely read minds. Future is all right. You'd figure it out. You make the future if you can read minds. I don't know how this is connected to sustainability, but I like that question.
But that's fine. I mean, it's not all meant to be linked to sustainability. If you had to pick one, would you prefer to promote EVs or public transportation?
Public transportation, which is driven by EV vehicles.
I was expecting that.
Yeah.
Actually.
I think this is,
It's okay. Yeah.
And look at India, so many EV buses. I think Delhi is adopted probably 30, I don't know the number, but I see a lot of EV buses, maybe 30-40% already EV. So I think that's encouraging.
Would you rather spend a day at a renewable energy plant or a tech startup?
Tech startup. I have a lot of learning, which is still pending on the tech side. So I'll be learning something there.
So, Yogiraj, we'll like to learn about your recommendations on what our audience can look into and sort of explore on and what your advice would be. So, a few questions on that.
Sure.
So, what's one online course or resource you think every aspiring leader in sustainable energy should explore?
I think there are a lot of data-driven analytics courses out there. I think it's really important in this day and age to be knowing some of the data aspects.
Mhm.
No particular course in that I'd be recommended, but definitely something around data analytics.
What is one tool or application you use that helps you stay organized and effective in your role?
Google Calendar. I'm being dead straight and honest here.
That makes sense.
I know it's not glamorous.
Okay. Can you suggest a networking group or community that young professionals in the EV ecosystem should consider join?
I'm not sure if I recommend a particular community, but definitely your alumni group.
Mhm.
I am connected to my groups from Melbourne, from my school days in Delhi, other groups from California. So I think definitely that's a good place to brainstorm and validate ideas.
Mhm. Lastly, what's a piece of advice or mantra you'll recommend for anyone looking to make a positive impact in the sustainable energy sector?
I think it's really important for anybody who's trying to make impact to start. I'd say this again, I repeat this again, but switching off that light is indeed impactful, because if some of us tell other people to do it, I think it's going to create a whole wave. I think you have to start somewhere. As long as you just keep thinking, uh, might not translate into something. So start small. Doesn't matter. Take that EV taxi, take that EV delivery on Zomato. All of this helps. Start small.
So, thanks everyone for watching this today. And meanwhile, we are curating some other interesting podcasts for you. Please go and switch off that light.